So you're thinking about moving to Oahu and you want to get to know everything there is about island life? Well, we came up with the 5 things that you need to consider when PCSing to Oahu. So stay tuned. What's up, everybody? This is Chris Anderson, and I am a local real estate agent here in Oahu. What better way to represent my very first video with my very own pineapple hat that I bought from a local vendor when I was in the hotel industry? Anyway, if this is your first time to the channel, first off, thank you very much. But if you want to know everything about Hawaii, then you definitely came to the right place. We will be doing tons of pros and cons videos about everything you need to know before making the move across the Pacific. So make sure to smash that subscribe button. Go ahead and give this video a like. As you know, it really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. And finally, click on the bell so you're notified every time that we do a new video. Now, I get so many phone calls, text messages, and even emails, yes, even emails, of people wanting to finally make that move to Oahu and live in paradise. And you know what? I absolutely love it. I love what I do. So if you are thinking about making that move to Oahu or any other island here in Hawaii, make sure to reach out to me. What I like to say to all of my friends and all of my clients, if it's not a win-win, there's no obligation. Worst case scenario, I get to have an awesome conversation with awesome people like you. And the world is about connection, people. That is an inside joke. Maybe one day I will share it with you. Maybe I won't. But anyway, get a hold of us. Don't be afraid. See for yourself what Hawaii has to offer. And we look forward to hearing from you. All right, so the first thing that we will be discussing is about preparation. Now, preparing to move to Hawaii, regardless if you are in the military, can be very, very stressful. However, don't let this temporary setback keep you from enjoying the process. I know we would all like to skip to the parts where we're lying on the beach, drinking Mai Tais, but anything in life, it's really about the journey. So before anyone begins diving into the moving process, keep in mind that you've got the support all around you. You've just got to reach out and ask for the help. What I've learned over the past week, which is a story in itself, is that we cannot do this thing called life alone. So regardless how we feel towards others, if we just let down our own walls, we will see that there are plenty of people that have our back. Now, I digress. Let's discuss number 2, household goods. When it comes to shipping household goods, one of the major shock factors outside of the already high home prices here are the sizes of the homes in Hawaii. On Oahu, typically the average home size of a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home is anywhere between 1,200 and 1,500 square feet. So what does that mean for you? I would recommend looking into downsizing before taking the time to pack every item. Granted, you do have military movers to help make the process a little bit easier, but if you don't want to store your items in Hawaii, I would definitely consider selling them prior to your move. If you just can't let go of those items, bring it on over and look into selling at a later date. Worst case scenario, the items don't fit and you've got a huge audience on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist that is looking forward to furniture options coming from the mainland. Knowing that there are so many people interested in mainland furniture, please note that furniture selection here in Hawaii is limited. There is no IKEA, so I would recommend purchasing and shipping it with your household goods if at all possible. Amazon shipments do come to Hawaii, but many larger items may not ship to Hawaii, and you'll be paying a pretty penny for shipping. I remember when I wanted to get this one particular air purifier, and I was so excited for it, and the shipping alone was $200, which I was willing to pay. But what made it worse is that when I went to go check out, I was informed that the company does not ship to Alaska or Hawaii. So my heart was broken, and I still do not have an air purifier. So at the end of the day, before you make that move, I would recommend purchasing anything in advance and ship with your household goods if at all possible. So as a reminder, some items to consider when shipping your household goods is to definitely take photographs and document the item's condition, especially if you need to make a claim once you receive that item here in Hawaii. I believe you have 180 days to do so from the delivery date. Please remember, do not pack any documentation, important documentation such as ID cards, passports, social security cards, and orders. If you do plan on purchasing a home, please do not pack any tax paperwork, bank statements, retirement or investment account statements, LES statements, especially if you do not have access to a computer. Now, I don't want to get too involved in this section, so if you do have questions on this, please let me know. Otherwise, you can always reach out to your local or new location's transportation office for additional information. Number 3, shipping your POV. So unless you're dual military, you will only have one vehicle shipped at no cost to you. If you choose to ship an additional vehicle, this will be, of course, at your own expense, and you're looking at roughly $1,000 to $1,500 per vehicle. Remember, there are only a limited amount of ports throughout the country, so be sure to keep all of your receipts for gas, lodging, and any other expense when driving to the port. For example, when I lived in El Paso, Texas, before I joined the military, I had to drive my vehicle from Houston, which without stops, you're looking around 12 hours. So there are a lot of documentation that you will need when dropping your vehicle off. So I will have a link below this video in the description to give you an idea of the major documents. Again, please make sure to do your own due diligence, but some of the forms that you will need, and from what I remember, is a copy of your official orders and amendments, your valid photo ID, proof of ownership to include vehicle registration and title, or your lien holder's authorization letter. Yes, you will need to get authorization from your bank to essentially give you that permission to go ahead and ship your vehicle outside of the continental United States. So if you lease a vehicle, you may or may not be able to provide this documentation, and you might be stuck getting a car here on island. If you do plan on having your vehicle dropped off by somebody else and their name is not on title, please make sure to get a power of attorney. So there are some high expectations when dropping your vehicle off, so keep this in mind. For example, you will need to wash and clean the inside and outside of your vehicle. My recommendation would to be just take everything out minus the spare tire just to make things easier on yourself. I don't know about you, but sometimes I find myself with unnecessary items inside my vehicle. This is something I do not like to admit to, but I just did. That's just one less item that you'll have to worry about. As for the outside, keep it simple and wash your vehicle right before you drop your vehicle off at the port. When I drove to Houston, I stayed the night in a hotel and woke up early the next morning to wash my vehicle right before dropping it off. Probably one of the most important items to remember is not to have more than 1/4 tank of gas. If you do have more, you'll need to burn it prior to dropping it off. So how long does it take to get your vehicle to Hawaii? Well, it really depends where you're located. Once your vehicle is on island, don't forget you have to register your vehicle in Hawaii. To register your vehicle, you must show proof of ownership, proof of no-fault insurance coverage, the shipping receipts, or what's called the bill of landing, safety inspection completed in Oahu, valid identification card, and a non-resident certificate form signed by your command within the first 30 days. And again, please make sure to verify all this information for yourself. But if you did make it this far in the video and you are loving the information, please show me your love and smashing that like button and clicking that bell so you're notified every time we do a new video. Now on to number 4, shipping your pets. Shipping your doggos or your cats can be one of the most stressful things about PCSing, at least it was for me. You have to keep in mind that Hawaii is 100% rabies free, so the shipping process may seem drawn out and it's extremely frustrating. But it's only because we are trying to keep our state rabies free and safe for other animals and humans. Now, long story short, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, but I somehow managed to figure it out. So if your time and health is important to you, I would personally recommend looking into a pet moving company. We do have one here in Hawaii, and I do not get paid to say this whatsoever, but look into it for yourself and see if it makes sense to you. I'll have the link in the description below this video. But what I like about Island Pet Movers is that they have a guarantee offer. Basically, coming from the hotel industry background, from Hilton Hotels, anytime I see a guarantee, I get a little bit excited, but it does remind me of Hilton's 100% satisfaction guarantee. Anyway, please reach out to Island Pet Movers for any clarifications, but what they promise in their guarantee is this. If your pet is held in quarantine due to insufficient paperwork and procedures, they will pay the daily quarantine rate until your pet is released. Now, this can get fairly expensive. The mandatory 120-day quarantine is roughly $1,084. More on this in a bit, though. Now, I have not personally used the company for the entire process, but at one point I was going to move back to the mainland. Crazy, because I live in a fairy tale, I know. But even just in the beginning stages, their team had very fast communication. They answered all of my questions and overall exceeded my expectations. I did have a previous coworker use the company, and she said it essentially saved her marriage. I don't know if she was just being funny, but it's possible. So unless you want this to be your exit strategy, I would recommend to at least give them an opportunity and see what they have to offer. If it just doesn't make sense, no harm, no foul. Now for the cold hard truth. I speak this from personal experience, from point A to point Z. So if anyone gets frustrated at this, don't hate on the messenger. If you need to vent, I got you. So like I said, unfortunately, what I'm about to tell you now is if you only have 30 to 60 days before PCSing to Hawaii, it might be time to ask one of your friends or family members to watch your fur babies for the mandatory 100-day quarantine. Remember from tip number 1, preparation. Yep, I did not do this myself. So because of my lack of preparation and knowledge and procrastination, I had to keep my 2 doggos with a friend for 4 months. Let me tell you, I miss them so much every single day. So the way around this is, of course, to prepare and start the process at least 6 months ahead of schedule, and here's why. As you can tell, there's a bit of a process with this, but again, do not take my word as gospel. Please speak to your on-base or off-base vet and follow up with them. However, there are certain deadlines that you will need to meet. For example, once your pet gets their first dose of the rabies vaccine, the second vaccine must be given 30 days afterwards. From this point then, the mandatory 100-day quarantine can officially begin. We all know that our pets feel stressed too, so if I can help even just one family make this experience a little bit less stressful for their pets, I've done my job. My point is, depending where you are on the mainland, the flight to Hawaii is going to be anywhere from 5 hours to 12 hours, and this is going to be stressful as is for our pets. So let's do our best to at least, stay with them during the mandatory 120-day quarantine in your current city or state, if possible. Now, after this whole pandemic, it's interesting to know that quarantine for humans was at most 14 days, yet pets are 120 days. So I don't really understand that. But anyway, before your fur babies get to the airport, please remember to send in your paperwork 10 days prior to their arrival at the airport animal quarantine holding facility for review. Otherwise, you will be looking at an additional cost to release your fur babies from anywhere from $185 to $244 per pet. This was something I did not check into as well, but check with your command and see if the $550 allotment is available for reimbursement for quarantine expenses. So with that, remember to keep your receipts. Keep your receipts. And finally, number 5, rent versus buying. Now, on to my favorite topic. Clearly, again, I'm a local real estate agent here in Oahu, and I absolutely love what I do. So before making the change from hospitality to real estate, I still wanted to serve people, and what better way to do it than helping people with one of their biggest assets ever. So in addition to this, what I learned over the past few years is that there are so many VA buyers that do not even know this is an option, or they think that this idea that the VA can only be used once, which is not true at all. So education for first-time home buyers, especially my first-time military buyers, is very important to me. One of the most frequent questions I get is, should I rent or should I buy? Well, to start, this video is not to sway you one way or another. It's really just to provide you with the education so you can make the best decision for you and your family. Now, I can talk about this topic for hours, so I'll do my best to keep this concise. But if you would like a video on the home buying process here in Hawaii, please let me know in the comment section and I'll get something together. However, for the rest of this section, I'm going to be mostly focusing on base housing versus purchasing. I won't get too much into details of off-base housing in this particular video. So regardless of your rank, the majority, if not all, of your BAH will of course be going towards on-base housing, which will usually include utilities. I will also provide a link in the description below with the most updated BAH rates. So regardless of the market you find yourself on a wait list for on-base housing, and when you do get into the property, it may not be your most favorable option. At the time of this recording, off-base housing is just as competitive to purchasing. Many landlords or property managers do have a preference for the interested prospects to already be here in Oahu, boots on the ground. Not only this, but similar to purchasing, you very well may find yourself competing against 10 or more applications. Now, this is not to keep you from making a decision. Again, this is just to set the expectations. Now, I know pets are very important to many military families, so understanding that Hawaii is surprisingly and unfortunately not very pet friendly when it comes to rentals is huge. So this is definitely a perk for on-base housing or getting into your own home. Now, when it comes to Oahu, on the buy side of things, typically the appreciation rate is 4.7% for single-family homes and 4.54% for condos. Now, this is based on 36 years of data, which will also be linked in the description below. So overall, this is on par with the national average between 3 and 5%. Now, the biggest difference from many locations in the mainland is simply that, the location. We are in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Many are finding that Hawaii is actually a great investment because with the limited land and the fairly stable market, of course, no market is foolproof and I do not have a crystal ball, but if and when there is a housing crash or if and when the market will shift, will it have an impact on prices? Absolutely. Do I know the amount of the impact? Absolutely not. But for me, when I got off the plane to Hawaii, I immediately fell in love and I decided to ETS. But worst case for me is I unfortunately waited 6 months before I got out to utilize my VA benefits. So if you give me a call and say, Chris, I have no idea where I want to live and I really want to feel out the island first before committing to a location, I totally understand and I respect that. But what I would recommend, however, is getting on that wait list for on-base housing as soon as possible. And let me tell you why. Properties in Oahu do not sit on market very long. I've seen properties sit on market as little as 24 hours to 1 week. So if you have even the slightest inkling of purchasing and you don't want to rush into a home, on-base housing is your best option because you have an exit. So if you do choose to rent off-base, you will lose out on your deposit. However, if you live on-base housing, if you give at least a 28-day notice with an exception of policy and proof that you're in the process of purchasing, you can get out of your lease with no consequences. Now, I know this video was a lot of information, so seriously, if you liked it, please let me know. We are all about aloha here. Plus, I want to make sure that I'm providing you information that is 1, quality information, and 2, information that you are looking for. If you have any questions about moving to Hawaii, please feel free to reach out to me. Give me a call, text, email, whichever is easiest for you if you are looking to PCS or move to Hawaii. So before you leave, please make sure to smash that like button. It'll help the YouTube algorithm push this information out to other military members looking for the same information. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to get through the end with me, and I am so stoked to educate and provide exceptional service to exceptional people. Until next time, aloha.